Thanks, gang. Right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Rob. I'll be your host. If you didn't know what you're here for, we're going to be talking about what's next for credit unions and mortgage brokers. I'm Rob from Target Integration, and we're joined here by Future Finance as well. I'll introduce my guest stars just in a moment. But just a quick sort of bit of housekeeping. So this is the agenda for today. So I'm going to it's auto playing. Okay. We'll go back and try that again. Start from the beginning. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to do the introduction today, and then we're going to go straight into something. I have no idea why we're doing this. You know what? We're going to do it like this. F11. There we go. And then we're going to go straight into hearing from Felix himself from Future Finance, and then we're going to go over into Lily. I'll introduce the gang very quickly now. So here are the speakers for today. So we've got Lily and Felix joining us today from Future Finance, and we're also joined here by Roddy, who's one of our sales software consultants here at Target Integration as well. A little bit of housekeeping. So hopefully I can hit the 45-minute mark. I know we've had a bit of a hiccup earlier on here for my presentation deciding not to work this morning, which has been fun. We'll try and keep it nice and tight for everyone there. Throughout the session, we'll have a Q&A box, so you can ask any questions throughout the presentation there. However, I've tried to leave about 10-15 minutes at the end there, so we can have some specific chat at the end of the session, but I'll try and point out anything that's sort of key and poignant as it comes up through the presentation today. And again, part of the housekeeping, that today's session will be recorded, and what we'll do is send out the recording as a link via YouTube quickly after today's session as well. There we go. Cool. So quickly then to kick us off, if anyone isn't unaware who Target Integration are, I'll just quickly go for a quick introduction for us. So we like to call ourselves the digital adoption specialists. What do we mean by this? We found over the years of 17 years in operation that a lot of companies are using a myriad of digital tools, digital softwares, but maybe working in silos, may still be working on spreadsheets. We speak to people who are still handwriting notes and things like that. We allow them to gain insights into their business, gain business value from digitally adopting even new tools or using their current suite of tools to advance their business and find business growth and value. Like I said, we're 17 years in operation. We're a global company, so we're based actually across the globe, offices in the UK, US, and India. I'm actually calling from Spain today, but I know Roddy's over in Oxford today, and they are headquartered over in Dublin, Ireland as well. Here's just a quick snapshot of just some of the UK team there. Oh, I've made the cut. There we go. And Roddy has. Look at that. Just some of our services that we offer. So we like to we work as part of essentially your team. We work as sort of an external team to essentially look at your digital systems, have a look at integrating your operations, streamlining your financial management systems, all into one wrapped up system to allow you to find that benefit from your business. Again, just a quick snapshot of some of the services we offer there as well. I'm trying to just power through this because I know we had a late start for today. Here's just a quick snapshot of how we work through your business as well, and how we go through that consultation phase with you as well. Here's a quick look at just some of the partners we work with there. So we have some of the bigger providers, your Microsofts, your Zendesk, your HubSpots, and some of your other ERP and CRM providers as well, like Odoo and Salesforce are in there as well. So we like to call ourselves product agnostic. We don't like to push a specific product on people. We like to look at what best fits their business essentially, or what they're currently using, and we go from there. We also do have our own loan management and case management system as well, Verum Pro. We'll send out actually a link out to this as well in our follow-ups as well. After the webinar today, I did have some more notes on this, but they seem to have disappeared in the presentation, so this is fantastic. So what we'll do is we'll quickly skip along. I want to introduce Felix. Hi, Felix. How are you doing?
Good.
Oh, Fanta, hi. Sorry about the quick starts about gangs, but yes, so thank you, Felix. You're joining us today from Glasgow. If I quickly drop my screen share, what we can do is then have you introduce yourself, Felix.
Yeah, of course. Do you want me to jump into my presentation or just a quick
Completely
overview?
up, completely up to you, Felix. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think I'll just kick it off in seconds.
Seeing if you've got PowerPoint issues like I've had as well.
It's more just film issues, I think. We'll get there. All right, here we
That's
go.
okay. Awesome. There we go. Super.
Right. So good morning, everybody. My name is Felix Honecker, and I'm a lecturer in management at the University of Glasgow's Adam Smith Business School. Before I took up my lectureship, I used to be a senior research associate for the Future Finance project. So what's Future Finance? The Future Finance project is essentially a collaboration of 4 universities and several industry partners with the goal to use research insights to enhance the innovation capacity of small and medium-sized financial services firms and drive innovation adoption, but always with the kind of overarching goal of producing better outcomes for consumers. So it's not just kind of driving innovation for innovation's sake, but really innovation that helps firms deliver first-rate services, new propositions, new products, or enter new markets to make this service more accessible. And over the last 18 to 24 months, this has allowed us to really deeply engage with the sector and to produce a range of evidence-based offerings and resources for SMEs and financial services. One of which I will talk about in detail in my presentation, and then my colleague Lily will later on have a more kind of in-depth overview of all the future finance activities. So one of the outcomes of our project is our Technology Insight series, which is essentially a series of reports aiming to equip small and medium-sized financial services firms with the knowledge and tools needed to successfully adopt and leverage new technologies for their business. And what we wanted is to make these reports or have these reports be something that firms can really read and use almost as a hands-on guide when thinking about implementing technology. The first 2 reports of our series focused on financial advisors and credit unions. And we have some future reports planned for insurance and mortgage brokers. So if some of the brokers here today are interested in engaging with our work to shape these reports, to co-produce them, then please reach out to Lily and the Future Finance team. I'm going to
Just to jump in there as well, Felix, what we will do is after the event today as well, we'll be sharing your contact details out as well. So any sort of questions you've got for Felix or really the gang as well, feel free to send them a message.
Right, fantastic.
Sorry,
No worries. So I'm going to dive a bit deeper into what we actually did for the credit union report and some of the insights that this gave us. So what we typically do for these reports in general is we closely engage with the small and medium-sized firms in the sector that the report focuses on. So for this last one, credit unions, to gain an in-depth understanding of the overarching market developments, but also common challenges and pain points and barriers to innovation at the firm level. And based on what we find, we focus on a small number of key technologies that firms can use to address most of the challenges they had shared with us. So the report then provides a comprehensive analysis of these technologies and offers some real practical guidance on how to get started, how to explore, evaluate, and eventually implement these technologies. Excuse me. So basically anything that bugs the companies on some level, from big picture strategic issues to things that they might struggle with or are just annoyed by in their day-to-day business. So that's what we took on board, and then thought about how technology could help them overcome some of these issues or address some of these more strategic challenges. So in the credit union report, through our many conversations with credit union leaders, we identified 5 broader challenge themes, I would say. And I'd be keen to hear if these are things that people in the audience today recognize from their own organizations. They are normally very similar across subsectors as well. So for credit unions and financial advisors, they were quite expected to be the case for mortgage brokers as well. Although there are obviously kind of nuances to what this looks like for each of the different sectors. So for credit unions, the first kind of challenge we identified was that there was a perceived skills gap. Right? So that they essentially thought they did not have the IT knowledge to even think about implementing and using some of these more cutting edge technologies. Then we had operational inefficiencies that were tying up valuable resources, and that was a common challenge. So was trust in the usability and readiness of the technology for commercial settings. We had competition from fintech market entrants, particularly a concern around some of these buy now, pay later apps and the increased usage of those among credit union members. And then lastly, we had budgetary constraints. So when it came to some of these new technologies, whether to implement them, which ones, how to do it, credit union leaders just didn't feel they had the budget to do this properly. So what we then did in the report was essentially matching up some of these specific challenges or problems credit unions had with really focused application potentials of key technologies that were available to credit unions, even under consideration of the issues they had mentioned. So it was a little bit about telling them, hey, some of these new AI tools aren't actually that expensive, so you might not need to have to worry about your budget that much, or they aren't technically complex in terms of how to use them, so there might not be that big of a skills gap. This might be solvable with limited training and so on. So we did this, and then we matched up the specific challenges with specific technologies or application potential of these technologies. And this was done at a fairly granular level. So instead of just kind of going in generically saying generative AI will improve operational efficiency in financial advice or in credit unions, we try to be really specific about this and to get into the details of the day-to-day challenges. So for generative AI, for example, we described how it can be used to address inefficiencies in the client onboarding process by using a large language model to summarize meeting notes and automatically turn them into a standard format client report. That was for financial advice, for example. Or we described how a GPT can be trained, customized to act as an expert reviewer of regulatory and compliance documents, which is something that we were told they spent loads and loads of time on at the moment. So we made it a point to provide quite detailed suggestions on what to do with technology. And for each of the key technologies we identified, we then wrote up a comprehensive technology profile. It contains a detailed explanation of how the underlying tech works, so what the technology can and cannot do, why we expect the technology to be or become important for the industry that we were looking at, and then a summary of the suggestions here on the right-hand side. You can see that table really kind of kind of matched up a summary of these suggestions on how each technology can be used to address specific pain points or specific challenges identified in the research going in. And after discussing these potentials, we then tried to point firms towards suppliers in the local ecosystem. So we've created a sort of targeted map that firms can use to identify technology companies or fintechs for the particular use case that they are interested in. And overall, in these technology profiles, in the entire report, we made an effort to be as practical as possible. Right? So no academies. We really wanted to provide a detailed guides and tips on how to prompt or train a model or set up a specific type of analysis. So very specific things like that. And we wanted each section to almost be a workbook for understanding and implementing these technologies. And an important part of that for us was the last section of each individual file, where we developed a step-by-step guide that can help businesses to familiarize themselves with the technologies. So that includes recommended resources, readings, tools they can get started with, how to identify use cases within the organization, how to choose the right tools or platforms for each individual use case, how they can ensure ethical and compliant use, and even what they should consider when rolling out the technology across their organization. So more implementation focused, organizational transformation focused insights.
Felix, so during research then, was there almost like a common denominator that you felt everyone was finding the same pain points, or was it different?
Those five themes were common across all
common across all of them?
organizations.
Wow.
Yeah. So
It's
there were.
interesting you say, yeah, it's interesting you, sorry, it's interesting you say that as well, just outside of sort of credit unions and mortgage brokers. A lot of organizations have similar issues in terms of sort of growth and technology adoption and the adoption rates as well, and how they adopt different technologies to help them. And I know you've touched a lot on AI there as well. And I know that's sort of the buzzwords of the year, but I know that's sort of the future going forwards and things like that. Just quickly, I know I've had a couple of questions just aimed specifically for you here, Felix. So sorry, just to jump in there. The first one here was, what are the potential risks for mortgage brokers / credit unions that they should consider implementing AI in their decision-making process? What sort of the risks do they have then when sort of making that decision to allow AI to make the decisions for them or help them make those decisions?
Yeah. I think the most obvious one is the privacy data security risk, right? Particularly when we think about these modern forms of AI, which are often chat-based, ChatGPT, Gemini being the big ones you're not familiar with. You need to be really careful with what you share with these programs. And while there are options to kind of opt out of them being allowed to use your data to train the models further, or having or using a model with a memory function so that it kind of saves the data that you shared in another chat or a while ago and stuff. While there are these options, there's a discussion about how much of that is actually implemented at the big tech company, and if they really do not use your data, right? So there's different advice on that. So a lot of people say, don't upload anything that would be critical if it was found on Google tomorrow. So if it went public. So just kind of some personal rule of thumbs, really. The truth is, we're still figuring a lot of that stuff out around privacy and data security related to these bigger models. So really important to start with not so sensitive data, or do it on a computer that's not hooked up to the internet. So download the GPT to a computer. You can still fine tune it to kind of keep it up to date, train it with your own data, and then use it that way. So it can feed back to the company.
That was going to be my next question, actually, which was previously you mentioned training your own GPTs or your own AIs on your data, but that's
Yeah.
obviously still having to go and talk to OpenAI or DeepSeek or whoever that's going outside of your organization, your network, talking to them, and then you're getting that answer back. So that's that risk that you have there in terms of security, right?
It is, yeah. Although, like I said, there are options of kind of downloading the today's GPT, so the current standard. You
Mm.
can download that, disconnect the computer from the internet, and you'll be able to get responses from the training data set that the GPT was trained on up to this date, right? And then
Mm.
you can enable some of these kind of self-training modes where you feed it a lot of client reports, where you feed it a specific form that you want it to fill for you in the future, and then kind of customize it that way on an offline computer. So that's probably the safest way at the moment to avoid many of these potential privacy issues.
I remember when Copilot, the Microsoft Copilot first launched, or at least when it was in beta, companies were deploying it across their Microsoft stack, so SharePoint, talking amongst themselves. So essentially, an organization could query Copilot and it would read SharePoint and then it would give you the answer to that. It was allowing people to access information they probably shouldn't have access to, but it wasn't because it was reading that specific information. It was already issues with your own internal policies that they already had access to that just had it highlighted that they had those internal issues with their own policies. I thought it was quite interesting. It
Yeah,
highlights sort of your own internal issues as well, which is interesting to think about.
yeah, yeah. And
Super,
then kind
super.
of just to kind of expand on my answer to
Mm,
your question, beyond kind of privacy risks, that there's obviously skills issues. There's a lot of research coming
mm.
out now that the more you use generative AI for even simple tasks, the quicker you kind of lose the ability to do this yourself. And some of the results, some of the academic research offer some kind of shocking insights into that with people who use Gen AI for writing emails too frequently. It takes them 4, 5, 6 times as long to write an email if they can't use Gen AI anymore. So there's this whole thing around creating dependencies to a technology to actually be able to do your job, and certainly
Mm.
a consideration as well.
I suppose what we need to understand is that AI is it's a tool, right? It's like a hammer. It's you need to use it in the right way. If you're
Yeah,
overusing it or being over reliant on it, then that's when sort of the issues lie. I know there's the whole big issue at the minute with AI taking people's jobs, which it feels like it's not going to do that. It's just making people work in a different way or creating new jobs. But
yeah,
it's how you use that, yeah. Sorry, Felix. I keep jumping in. I
agreed.
love talking about
No,
this
no
stuff.
worries.
So,
No
and
worries
I
at
know you've
all.
got some more slides here. Just quickly, I know you mentioned we had another question in the chat here for you, Felix, which was you mentioned the right tools and platforms that we would suggest for people from your
Yeah.
research. The question we've had here, I had in the chat here, is what are the right tools and platforms? I'm assuming you're going to get onto that shortly now.
Well, I don't think you can just say this in a kind of general way. I do think you really need to look into the individual use cases one by one, and then decide, okay, what do I want to do here exactly, and then which is the tool that provides the right capabilities to get the job done in the most efficient but also effective way. So that there's slight differences even between the most cutting edge and most popular models. So the coding capabilities of Claude are often favored over those of ChatGPT and stuff like that. So it becomes kind of a capability question. But then there's also really specialized applications for search, or specialized applications for generating images, or specialized applications for generating graphs. And then it really depends on what it is you want to do, what your budget is, what your priorities are. So that there's not that one answer, this is the best tool. I don't think I can deliver
Mm.
that.
So what you're saying is there's no one silver bullet. It's going to save your business. It's going to fix all your
Yeah.
problems. It's a case by case basis, right? Every organization is
Yeah,
different.
exactly. Exactly. Case by
Super.
case
Okay.
basis, depending on the capabilities. And then it's, I guess it's For some things, it's a matter of personal preference as well, just which tool you can work better, if that makes sense. So that goes a lot into it, that we've got in the report as well. So we do make some of these considerations and say, these are the questions you should ask to pick the right tool, so on.
Super. Okay, sorry, I'll let you carry on now, Felix.
It's fine. Much rather have a discussion than just speaking at you, so that's good. Yeah, so just to essentially wrap up, I thought it might be useful to get glimpses into some of the other kind of complementary work we've been doing. So based on the engagement with credit unions that has informed the report, we realized that buy now, pay later, for example, was something that they're extremely concerned about. So we invited them to a collaborative challenge run, which is 6 half-day workshops across a few months, in which we then collectively try and work out how to address a challenge. So in this case, the challenge was, how should credit unions respond to increasing buy now pay later usage among their members? And the nice thing about these challenge runs, the way we've designed them, is that the outcome can be a lot of different things, right? So the outcome could be a training initiative, it could be a partnership, could be a product idea, could be a plan for further research, really anything. There's no limit to what this can get us, as long as it's actionable. And one of the outcomes of this challenge run actually was a piece of further research, right? So research into customer behaviors and cognition and ability to use. So we made a few assumptions about this in the workshops, but thought it would be best to kind of confirm or disprove these assumptions before we take any of the measures we identified further, to really understand how and why people engage with these buy now pay later solutions, to then be able to get back to the table and think about how to address some of these issues at the root cause. So this is kind of an ongoing and complementary engagement that we're trying to build with these different sectors in future finance. Right, so I hope that has given you an idea of some of the work we've been doing. Lily, please correct me if I'm wrong, but these outputs are all still available for free for the duration of the funded period if you sign up to the Future Finance Network.
Yeah, that's
great. And as I mentioned earlier, so there is more work planned. So if you're interested in being involved, please reach out to the team or myself. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Felix. Sorry for jumping in halfway through and just
No,
derailing that. I've completely eaten into Lily and Roddy's time, so I'm so sorry about that, gang. But no, that was awesome, Felix. Thank you for sharing that. Like I said at the start of the call, gang, what we'll do is, after the webinar, I'll send you obviously a link out to the recording, and all of the different contact details for Felix and Future Finance as well will be attached in that email as well. So you can forward any emails offline to that. But quickly moving on. Sorry, Lily, that we haven't got a chance to come across to you yet. And I don't know if you haven't even had a chance to let you introduce yourself yet, have I?
I know, but I can go for that. So I'm Lily. I'm also part of the Future Finance team. I'm Accelerator Manager, and that means my role is all about overseeing the delivery of our events and training program and helping businesses to connect with the support that we offer. So I've got a few slides as well, so I'll just see if I can get those up on the screen.
Super.
Sure, we're not doing death by PowerPoint, but
it was only me that had issues with PowerPoints earlier.
Well, you're very unflappable, so I think that's the right way around. So Felix has kind of beautifully summarised what our programme is about, so I won't linger on this one for too long. But yeah, just to underline, we are this fully funded programme funded by ESRC and Innovate UK. And our brief is to use our funding to support financial services in the UK to work in new and innovative ways so that they can improve their productivity, reach new markets, all of these good things. And that we're very lucky to be supported by this lovely partner network, which includes academic institutions and also industry partners such as Harvard Lansdowne, EY, Deloitte, fintech networks across the UK. So we've got this lovely backing to help us do what we do. And yeah, so what makes this project, I think, really exciting is that we get to work directly with industry. So the training that we are developing gets informed directly by challenges that financial service companies are reporting to us through our research. And we get to iterate and develop based on what we see working in real time, what we see being most effective and impactful. So for a little précis of the kind of support that we can offer, let me just make sure. On to the next slide. Oops, there we go. Okay, so yeah, we have a lot of things that we offer. We build innovation capability through funded skills workshops, through one-to-one implementation support. We share research insights, as Felix has been talking about to you this morning. We support developing network connections as well, so that can be connecting you with innovation experts or with peers who are managing sort of similar innovation challenges to yourself. So you have that sort of peer advice as well. Yeah, so the reason for this, why we offer this support, is our programme is a response to a slowdown in productivity in UK financial services. It's a sector that has higher than average productivity levels, but it's also one that's seen a sharp decline in recent years. So you'll see on the right of this slide that we've got up here, some insights from the Financial Conduct Authority about the factors that are contributing to this, and these align really closely with the research we've undertaken. Felix has covered these barriers like very expertly, more expertly than I ever could, so I won't go on about them too long. But just to mention that these factors, sort of lack of skills around tech adoption, the concerns about regulation, difficulty keeping pace with emerging technologies, workplace cultures that are maybe not optimized for innovation. These factors might not be universal to every single firm out there, but these trends are what we've used to inform the support that we offer. So it shows us what we need to address in order to provide you with support that's really effective. So we've been busy doing that. So our programme is a relatively new programme, but since we started providing support in 2024, we've had over 70 firms complete our innovation potential assessment, which is this really good, quick survey that you can complete to benchmark where your innovation readiness currently is. And then you can complete it again to sort of track as you progress, and that changes over time. We've conducted over 35 interviews now. This slide's a little bit out of date. So getting that feedback from financial service leaders about the challenges that they're facing, and that's led into the reports that we've commissioned as well as the training. We've welcomed over 80 unique participants to our skills workshops. So that's 80 different individuals who've accessed our training and received support through it. And we've welcomed over 900 unique attendees to events that we've run across the UK. Okay, and I think most importantly though, we've supported companies to do some amazing things. So there's been a real variety to the impacts that have come out of our programme. And that's down to, engaging with a real variety of different kinds of financial services, different size companies, different subsectors, people who have different problems, different customers that they engage with. So we've seen our participants implement process efficiencies, uncover new markets to offer their services to. They've leveraged automation to free up time for client engagement, and rolled out new services to provide a better offer for their clients. We've also seen confidence growing in navigating regulation whilst implementing these innovations. And I thought it would be useful to talk to you about the approach that we take to get these results, to help people achieve these things. So the approaches we take, they're quite familiar to sort of an entrepreneurial startup world, but they're less familiar in an established financial services kind of world. So we teach people about taking a problem-led approach to scoping change projects. And that's so important because ineffective change can be really time-consuming and expensive. So what we do is we help firms to take a step back and evaluate where and what the problems are with fresh eyes, so that they can scope out where their innovation is going to have the most impact. And hand in hand with that is helping people to test their ideas early. So getting feedback from the people that are going to be affected by a change most before rolling out a big transformation. We help you to adopt more of an innovation mindset as well, so becoming more comfortable with taking balanced risks, seeking out opportunities for growth, and becoming more comfortable getting ahead of emerging trends as well. So, taking that uncertainty that comes around knowing about all these new technologies, new policies, regulations, new potential markets, and taking that and making it part of your competitive advantage. Yeah, and also, I think I previously mentioned, but worth mentioning again, accessing networks. So that could be bringing in particular expertise about an innovation that you want to implement, or it could be more about accessing peer networks so that you're in contact with other financial service providers who are going through similar challenges. It can be really useful to bounce ideas off each other and understand a bit more about what's worked for others too. So I thought it would be helpful to sort of bring this to life to show you an example of this in action. So I thought I would talk to you about a particular credit union who accessed our services and what came out of it for them. So this particular credit union, they went through one of our longer form programs, which is all about leadership and innovation implementation. So at the start of that, we helped them to figure out that a really key opportunity for them to improve their service offer was going to be having a look at their loans process, which they described as being a bit clunky, taking a bit longer than they wanted it to. And working, as kind of a discomfort with using new technologies to help them manage that. So they decided what they wanted to do through the program was to streamline their operations so they could improve their member experience ultimately. And they did a really good job of it. So by the end of the program, they had got their loans processing time reduced by 30 to 35%, depending on the size of the loan that they're talking about. They appointed a new operations manager, and they started to use AI agents to handle routine emails. And that's a technology area they wouldn't have considered before the program, they told us. But they found the guidance and exposure to these different technologies really good, building up their confidence to adopt something new and a bit foreign to them like that. And they did it with purpose as well. I mean, we've talked today already about not just wanting to slap AI on everything. It needs to have a point to it. And for them, it was really all about making sure that they had more time to engage with clients. So putting more time into that human interaction rather than doing sort of repetitive admin jobs. And it's a really valuable part of their services. So I think that was very key to them. So implementing these initial changes around the loans process and bringing in these new roles into the organisation had this lovely ripple effect where the team got the confidence to go out and successfully apply for external funding so that they could implement more changes. Their senior managers started to access more training themselves, and that sort of contributed to this growing culture, more confidence, more creativity, more resilience in their team. And the credit union, they built on the connections they'd made through Future Finance during the program, during the training, to build these peer networks that they could go to after our support had ended to carry on having those environments to talk about change and to discuss what the challenges were and how to manage those. So for them, engaging with Future Finance was a real turning point for accelerating operational efficiencies, for unlocking further funding to support new change projects, for building leadership confidence, and for fostering collaboration in the sector. And I have a slightly longer version of the quote that I put up on the screen now. So in the words of their CEO, for us, the programme has been really successful. If you utilise the information that's been put into practice, you're always going to see some value. And for us, that has had a lot of value. You might know that this is what you need, but you go, oh, I couldn't do that. But the programme goes, well, actually, yes, you can. So it's about building your capability to make these changes that I think quite often people almost know that they need to make or they want to make, but having that confidence and the skills to make that jump, that's where we come in. So yeah, so in conclusion, we're all about helping you to figure out where innovation can have the most impact and then supporting you to build the capacity to make that change happen. So if that sounds interesting to you, we'd love for people to get involved in the programme. Just on this last slide here, we've got some QR codes up, but Rob's very kindly going to share these links in follow-up to today, as mentioned. So yeah, you can explore the schedule of training and events that we've got coming up. You can also just express your interest more generally. There's in very small writing, we've got our email address, but yeah, Rob will kindly share that around afterwards.
Brilliant.
I think I just wanted to draw your attention to a few sessions that we have going up. So we've got this training all about bringing in design thinking to financial services. I'm just going to take a sip of water because classic, your voice goes just as you're...
Yes, sorry, Lily. I was interrupting Felix every 5 minutes, and I was so enthralled by your presentation. I didn't want to jump in until the end.
That's okay.
You've been a real trooper there.
I'm nearly done, I promise. I'm nearly done.
No worries, carry on.
So yeah, so we've got these sessions coming up. So we've got design thinking for financial services, which is very much that problem-led approach that I mentioned earlier. We've got a series which is all about leading change in financial services. So there's 3 parts to that. They're all online, very accessible. And if you happen to be in Bristol towards the end of November, we've also got our programme finale, which we'd love you to join us for. So there's lots of things going on. You're very welcome to share these links, to share this training with colleagues, with peers from your networks who you feel would be interested. It's all free to come along to. So lots of resources out there, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So yeah, I think that's it from me. So I'll say thank you very much for your time. Stop sharing.
No, thank you, Lily. No, thank you. No, that was super. Thank you for that. I think a lot of what we spoke about today, I think what you've been touching upon there, Lily, is working smarter, not harder a lot of the time, where looking at the
Indeed.
research or even speaking to sort of your peers and other organizations through networks such as yourself, I think is ways to sort of get a step ahead. Especially like as you were saying, the research was showing that the industry is slowing in a certain way. So obviously any advantage you can get, whether that is leveraging sort of digital tools, AI, or the information at hand, surely that is the ways you can sort of get a leg up, as it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess making use of all these resources that are out there and available to yeah, give yourself a bit of an edge.
Awesome. No, I know we've just ran over by a minute there, gang. So I did have some other stuff to touch upon, but that's completely fine. I'm going to add that in as an email. I'm going to quickly go over to the Q&A. I know we have run over, but I do have a couple of questions for Lily and Felix and Roddy here. If you guys don't mind sticking around. But no, that's been super. Thank you for joining us for that, Lily and Felix. So a couple of questions that I've been sent here is then, we know that AI is here to stay. How do you see it transforming the lending process for credit unions / mortgage brokers over the next few years? How do you see it sort of transforming the way that process takes place?
2 things that we need to consider. One's the operational aspect, where we expect to see productivity boosts. So if you break the lending process down into more granular steps and then see where you can just save a lot of time and resources by using AI, I think that's where the focus will be on mostly. And then there's certainly also discussions around kind of embedding AI in the decision-making process. So essentially drawing on AI's analytic capabilities to arrive at better lending decisions. Well, now I'm personally not a big fan of that, but that's 2 things that are being discussed, I think, the most.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's probably very similar in a lot of organizations and a lot of industries as well. When it comes to this topic of AI, no, I agree.
Yeah, I think across the board that the focus really is on productivity at the moment. What type of steps can we cut out? What kind of steps can we move through a lot faster by using AI? That sort of stuff. Yeah.
And that actually moves me really nicely. Well done, Felix. You teed me up there. On to my next question, which is, so do you think AI copilots or chatbots will eventually replace some manual processes / jobs then, especially when it comes to customer service? Which I think we said yes in a way.
Yes, I think so. And I think it's already started doing that in certain industries. So if you look at some of the developments in the professional services industries, consulting, accounting, the big companies have stopped hiring juniors or drastically reduced how many juniors they are hiring. So what we're going to see is, I think, a shift from having a pyramid in these organizations where you have a small number of partners and senior consultants and all that sort of stuff, and a lot of juniors doing the actual legwork. I think that will become more of a kind of an obelisk, much slimmer structure with less juniors, just because one junior equipped with the right AI tools can be just as productive as 5 juniors used to be. And you have that in specific industries, like I said, consulting's one. You have this in some of the very kind of rules-based professions like accounting and law. We see similar developments. Then a lot of the tech companies have drastically reduced the number of customer service agents that they employ. Klarna, for example, so they have hired, I think, they have let go, I think, 2,000 customer service agents to introduce an AI to do the same job. Did it really efficiently. Now it's backfired to an extent. So they now realized, oh, we might have acted too rashly there, hiring back a lot of people, reducing AI. So yeah, maybe not quite there yet across the board, but it's certainly happening sporadically in some places, yeah.
And actually, it reminds me, Roddy, sort of from a target integration perspective, then, what have you seen then, sort of internally from outside of that?
I actually have 3 slides to present, if that's okay.
Oh,
and
okie dokie. Yeah,
definitely
sorry,
going
I
to
know we've ran
Sky,
over
but
there.
that's not a problem. Just a second.
Okie dokie. Sorry, Roddy. Are you bringing that up now?
Yes.
Brill.
Is that visible?
Yep, yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, so what are some simple digital tools to make life easier for credit unions and mortgage brokers? You'd be surprised how many credit unions and mortgage brokers still rely on paper forms or endless spreadsheets. And so even small digital changes can save hours every week. For example, switching to online loan forms removes the hassle of paper applications. Digital signatures save time and remove the need for printing or chasing paperwork. Storing documents in Google Drive or SharePoint, for example, means files are secure and easy to access from anywhere. Also, letting customers book appointments online through tools like Microsoft Calendar, for example, removes the back and forth emails. And also using email templates can help staff avoid retyping the same responses. And finally, but most importantly, a basic customer relationship management system can replace all those Excel sheets, making tracking and communication much easier. Next, I have the role of AI in customer communication and case management. So we believe AI isn't about replacing people, it's about freeing them from repetitive work. For example, AI can read payslips or bank statements and flag missing or suspicious information automatically. Chatbots can handle simple questions. For example, has my application been received? So your team can focus on the most complex cases. It also helps detect patterns early, like risky applications or unusual activity. And finally, AI tools can summarize a case history, helping staff quickly understand what's already been done before speaking to the customer. And what are the biggest challenges we see when starting a project of digital transformation? The hardest part of implementing digital tools isn't the technology, it's the people. Many staff members are used to doing things a certain way, so we need to make them comfortable with the change. That's why training and support are key. And our role is to make sure that after installation, everyone knows how to use the system properly. So we don't just set it up, we stay involved to make sure adoption is successful and the benefits are long lasting. Thanks, Rob.
Sorry, Roddy. Yes, thank you for jumping in on that. You actually went through a couple of my questions there, so thank you for that. Sorry,
Exactly,
Felix, you've had
yes.
your hand up.
May I add something to that? I think, Roddy, that was spot on, right? You really hit the nail on that. These, the first part of it, kind of outlining these marginal gains that you can achieve across the organization, and these add up, right? So we have pretty decent examples from bigger corporations already. So where Morgan Stanley's wealth management division has implemented AI tools for a lot of these kind of smaller tasks, just to free up capacity for the advisors to do more high value work, spend time with clients, right? And they have said they're now saving 15 hours a week per advisor. So it's an insane amount the way this adds up across the organization, right? And then the second part about the people, I think, Lily, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that this is what we saw with our future finance work, really strongly as well. That it's often the mindset and it's often the way people approach technology in these small organizations, just not having the confidence to really deeply engage with it. So I think that was spot on.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they don't have the knowledge, they think, oh, AI is going to replace me, but actually it's not about that. It's about those, repetitive bits. I was very surprised to find out how many hours, staff spend on scanning payslips and documents for each application. There's tens of documents. So just that task, being taken away by AI is saving, countless hours. Yeah.
Awesome, gang. No, I know we've ran over very slightly there. I think there are some really good points made there as well from everyone. So well done there. I think that's it for the questions that I've had in the Q&A. So does anyone, any other business, anything else we want to bring up quickly there? No. So I think it's safe to say then the main point that we made today, I think we spoke, Lily, about this, was it's a lot about working smarter, not harder. There's a lot of these new digital tools out there and AI that you can leverage in your own organization to sort of work smarter and not actually then rely on those manual processes or those processes that are slowing you down. Leverage the information, the research, and the technology that's out there. So no, I think that's a really good discussion we've had there. Well done, everyone. I think what we'll do is then I'm going to wrap it up there quickly, but just to say at the end then what I'll do is I'll send out a quick recording of this webinar to everyone who's registered today, and as well I'll add in some of the contact details for everyone here, Felix, Lily and Roddy as well, in case you want to ask them any questions directly as well, or ask them any questions regarding future finance and the partnership opportunities that they have there. But for now, I want to say thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thank you to our presenters today as well. You guys have been brilliant, and hopefully we'll see you in the next webinar. Thanks, everyone.